Play one note and you're out forever. The words echoed through the crystal chandeliers of Vienna's most prestigious music conservatory. 17-year-old Maya Chen stood clutching her battered violin case, facing off against the Academy's golden princess, Isabella von Habsburg. The entire elite gathering held its breath as the challenge was thrown down like a gauntlet. What led this girl from the forgotten corners of Chicago's Chinatown to this moment of reckoning? Would raw talent triumph over centuries of privilege, or would she be crushed under the weight of expectation? Dear listeners, where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city in the comments and tell us, will Maya rise or fall? Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about talent, prejudice, and the power of music to change destinies. The neon signs of Chicago's Chinatown flickered like dying stars against the October night, casting eerie shadows on cracked sidewalks where dreams came to die. In a cramped apartment above Wang's Noodle House, the scent of soy sauce and desperation hung thick in the air. Maya Chen, 17 and fierce with determination burning in her dark eyes, drew her bow across the strings of a violin that had seen better decades. The instrument, a factory-made relic her grandmother had bought from a pawn shop for $50, wheezed and protested with every note. Its varnish was chipped, one string was a replacement from a guitar, and the bow had more missing hairs than a balding man, but in Maya's hands, it sang with a voice that could make angels weep. Her calloused fingers, stained from helping her mother in the restaurant kitchen, danced across the fingerboard with precision that defied her circumstances. At 17, Maya was a study in contrasts, her school uniform patched and faded, but her posture regal as any concertmaster. Her long black hair, usually tied back with whatever rubber band she could find, framed a face that held both vulnerability and steel. The apartment was a testament to immigrant struggle. Water stains mapped the ceiling like continents of broken dreams. The furniture, mismatched pieces rescued from garage sales, told stories of families who'd given up and moved on. But when Maya played, the cramped space transformed into Carnegie Hall, the water stains became acoustic panels, and the traffic noise outside became a symphony orchestra. Tonight, she was practicing Paganini's Caprice No. 24, a piece so technically demanding that most professional violinists approached it with reverence and fear. Maya had learned it from a scratchy YouTube video, pausing and replaying sections until her phone's battery died, then charging it and starting again. No teacher, no sheet music, just her ear and an unquenchable thirst for musical perfection. Her younger brother, Kevin, sprawled on their shared mattress, his homework forgotten as he watched his sister weave magic from horsehair and wood. Their mother, Lynn, wouldn't return from her double shift at the restaurant until 3 in the morning, her hands raw from dishwater and her back aching from 16-hour days. The Chen family's survival balanced on a knife's edge. Every dollar Maya earned busking in the subway tunnels went toward rent, groceries, or Kevin's school supplies. But when she played, poverty became irrelevant. Her music was rebellion against circumstance, a declaration that beauty could bloom in the harshest soil. As Maya's bow caressed the final notes of the Caprice, a slow clap echoed from the fire escape outside their window. She froze, her heart hammering against her ribs like a caged bird. A figure emerged from the shadows, an elderly man in an expensive wool coat that probably cost more than her family's monthly rent. "Extraordinary," he said, his accent carrying the refined tones of European aristocracy. "I am Professor Heinrich Zimmermann from the Vienna International Music Academy. I was lost, looking for an address, when your music stopped me in my tracks." Maya clutched her violin protectively. Strangers in their neighborhood usually meant trouble, immigration officers, debt collectors, or worse. But this man's eyes held something different. Recognition, respect. "You play Paganini like you've lived his struggles," Professor Zimmermann continued, stepping carefully through their window with Kevin's help. "How long have you been studying?" I taught myself," Maya whispered, her voice barely audible above the distant rumble of the L train. The professor's eyebrows shot up like exclamation marks. "Self-taught? Impossible. That level of musicianship requires years of intensive training, master classes, private tutors." Maya's chin lifted defiantly. "I learned from videos, and by listening, Music doesn't care if you're rich or poor, Professor. It just is. Professor Zimmerman studied her with the intensity of a jeweler examining a rare diamond. He pulled out his phone, the latest iPhone, Maya noticed, and made a call in rapid German. When he hung up, his expression was grave. Miss Chen, I'm going to make you an offer that will change your life. The Vienna International Music Academy is hosting its annual Global Talent Search next week. We invite only the most promising young musicians from around the world. I want you there. Maya's violin nearly slipped from her trembling hands. Vienna. She dreamed of European concert halls the way other girls dreamed of Hollywood. But dreams were luxuries her family couldn't afford. We don't have money for plane tickets, she said, shame burning her cheeks. The academy will cover all expenses, Professor Zimmerman said gently. Transportation, accommodation, everything. But I must warn you, this isn't just an audition. It's a competition. The winner receives a full scholarship to our academy, worth over $200,000. The losers. He paused meaningfully. Well, let's just say not everyone handles rejection gracefully. The Vienna International Music Academy rose from the Austrian countryside like a musical Mount Olympus, its baroque spires piercing clouds that seemed to whisper of Mozart and Beethoven. Maya pressed her face against the taxi window, her breath fogging the glass as she stared at the institution that would either crown her dreams or crush them entirely. The building was a monument to musical heritage, marble columns carved with the faces of legendary composers, gardens where peacocks strutted between fountains that played liquid melodies, and windows that gleamed like the eyes of musical gods watching over their domain. Maya's reflection in the taxi window looked like a smudge against such perfection. Her discount store dress, her violin case held together with duct tape, her wide eyes drinking in a world she'd only imagined. As their taxi crunched up the gravel driveway, Maya counted the luxury vehicles parked like sleeping beasts. Mercedes, Benz sedans, BMW SUVs, even a Rolls-Royce that probably cost more than her entire neighborhood. Her taxi, a battered Toyota with a cracked windshield, looked like a peasant among princes. The Academy's entrance hall was a cathedral of sound and privilege. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across marble floors, so polished they reflected like mirrors. The ceiling soared 3 stories high, painted with frescoes of angels playing harps and violins. But it was the students that made Maya's stomach clench with anxiety. They moved through the space like they owned it, which, Maya realized, they probably did. Designer clothes that cost more than her family's monthly income, instruments in cases that gleamed like jewelry boxes, and an air of casual entitlement that came from never having to worry about where their next meal would come from. A girl with platinum blonde hair swept into an elaborate chignon glided past, her violin case bearing the label Stradivarius, 1807. Maya's grip tightened on her own case, suddenly ashamed of the duct tape and the smell of Wong's noodle house that seemed to cling to everything she owned. Well, what do we have here? The voice cut through Maya's awe like a blade through silk. She turned to find herself face to face with the blonde girl, whose blue eyes sparkled with the kind of cruel amusement that came from a lifetime of looking down on others. I'm Isabella von Habsburg, the girl said, her Austrian accent making each word sound like a royal decree. And you must be the charity case Professor Zimmerman dragged in from America. Maya's cheeks burned, but she kept her voice steady. I'm Maya Chen. I'm here for the competition. Isabella's laugh was like breaking crystal. Competition? Oh, darling, this isn't a competition. It's a formality. The von Habsburg family has been attending this academy for 6 generations. My great-great-grandfather played for Emperor Franz Joseph. My violin is worth more than most people's houses. She gestured dismissively at Maya's case. What's that held together with? Tape and hope? A crowd was gathering, drawn by the scent of drama like sharks to blood. Students in velvet blazers and silk dresses formed a circle, their faces eager for entertainment. Maya felt their stares like physical weight, each glance cataloging her discount clothes, her nervous posture, her obvious otherness. At least I earned my place here, Maya said quietly, but her words carried in the marble acoustics. Isabella's smile turned predatory. Earned? You mean Professor Zimmerman felt sorry for you? This academy is for serious musicians, not street performers with delusions of grandeur. The insult hit like a physical blow, but Maya straightened her spine. She thought of her mother's bleeding hands, her brother's faith in her, the countless nights she'd practiced until her fingers bled. "Music doesn't care about your last name," she said, her voice growing stronger. "It only cares about truth." Truth. Isabella stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the hall. "The truth is that you don't belong here. You're a novelty, a feel-good story for the Academy's brochures. But when it comes time to actually play," she shrugged elegantly, "well, breeding will tell." Something snapped inside Maya. The months of struggle, the years of dreaming, the weight of her family's sacrifices, it all crystallized into a moment of pure defiance. "Prove it," Maya said, her voice ringing clear as a bell. "You and me, right here, right now. Let's see whose music speaks louder." The hall fell silent, except for the distant sound of someone practicing scales in an upper room. Isabella's eyes widened slightly. She hadn't expected this mouse to roar. "You're challenging me?" Isabella's voice carried disbelief and delight in equal measure. "Do you have any idea who I am? I've been playing since I was 3 years old. I've performed at the Vienna State Opera, the Salzburg Festival. I've studied with masters whose names you probably can't even pronounce." "Then you should have nothing to worry about," Maya replied, her heart hammering but her voice steady. Isabella's smile returned, sharp as a scalpel. "Very well, but let's make this interesting. When I win, and I will win, you leave Vienna immediately. No competition, no scholarship, no second chances. You go back to your little restaurant and never darken these halls again." The crowd gasped. This wasn't just a musical challenge anymore, it was a trial by combat, with Maya's entire future as the stakes. "And if I win?" Maya asked, though her voice trembled slightly. "You won't," Isabella said with absolute certainty. "But if by some miracle you do, I'll publicly acknowledge that you belong here, in front of everyone." Maya nodded, sealing her fate. Deal. Word of the challenge spread through the academy like wildfire. Within minutes, the entrance hall was packed with students, faculty, and even some visiting dignitaries who'd come for the competition. Professor Zimmerman pushed through the crowd, his face pale with concern. "Maya, you don't have to do this," he whispered urgently. "Isabella is formidable. She's been groomed for this her entire life." "So have I," Maya replied, though her hands shook as she opened her case. "Just in a different way." The Academy's director, Dr. Elizabeth Brahms, a stern woman whose family name carried its own musical legacy, stepped forward to officiate. "Very well. Since this challenge has been issued publicly, we'll treat it as an impromptu masterclass. Each performer will play a piece of their choosing. The audience will judge." Isabella stepped forward first, her Stradivarius gleaming like liquid amber under the chandeliers. She announced her piece with the confidence of someone who'd never doubted her own superiority. Brahms' Violin Concerto in D major, first movement. The choice was strategic and brutal. The Brahms Concerto was a mountain of technical difficulty, a piece that separated true virtuosos from mere mortals. It demanded not just technical perfection, but emotional maturity that typically came only with years of professional experience. Isabella raised her violin, and from the first note, it was clear why she was considered the Academy's crown jewel. Her technique was flawless, each passage executed with surgical precision. The Stradivarius sang under her bow like a caged angel finally set free, its voice filling the hall with golden sound that seemed to make the very air shimmer. She navigated the concerto's treacherous passages with the ease of someone born to the manner, her fingers dancing across the fingerboard in patterns that seemed almost supernatural. The audience was mesmerized, their faces reflecting the awe that only true mastery could inspire. But as Maya listened, she heard something else beneath the technical perfection. The music was beautiful, yes, but it was also cold, perfect, but passionless. Like a photograph of a sunset rather than the sunset itself. When Isabella finished, the applause was thunderous. Students cheered, faculty nodded approvingly, and Isabella curtsied with the grace of someone who'd never doubted the outcome. She looked at Maya with a smile that said, "Your move, little mouse." Maya stepped forward, her violin case suddenly feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She opened it slowly, revealing her battered instrument with its mismatched strings and chipped varnish. Next to Isabella's Stradivarius, it looked like a beggar beside a queen. "What will you play?" Dr. Brahms asked, her voice neutral, but her eyes curious. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her mother's tired smile, her brother's unwavering faith, the subway tunnels where she'd learned that music could touch hearts even in the darkest places. "Bach's Chaconnet in D minor," she said quietly. The crowd murmured in surprise. The chaconne was a different kind of challenge, not a showcase of technical fireworks, but a spiritual journey that laid the performer's soul bare. It was a piece that could reveal everything about a musician's character, for better or worse. Maya raised her violin, and in the moment before she began, she felt a strange calm descend. This wasn't about proving herself to these people. This was about honoring the music, honoring her journey, honoring everyone who'd believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. The first note emerged from her violin like a prayer whispered in an empty cathedral. The chaconne began simply, almost humbly, but Maya's interpretation carried the weight of every struggle she'd ever faced. Each phrase was a chapter of her story, the loneliness of being different, the pain of poverty, the fierce love of family, the unbreakable hope that music could transcend any barrier. Her violin might have been cheap, but her soul was priceless. The music flowed through her like water through a riverbed, natural and inevitable. She didn't just play the notes, she lived them, breathed them, bled them. The audience, prepared to politely endure an amateur's attempt, found themselves leaning forward, caught in the spell of something they hadn't expected. This wasn't just music, it was testimony, confession, revolution. Maya's bow danced across the strings with a passion that made Isabella's technical perfection seem suddenly hollow. Where Isabella had played with her mind, Maya played with her heart, her history, her hope. The chaconne built to its climactic variations, and Maya's violin sang with a voice that seemed to contain multitudes, every immigrant's dream, every outsider's defiance, every artist's desperate need to be heard. When the final note faded into silence, the hall remained frozen for a heartbeat that felt like eternity. Then, like a dam bursting, applause erupted. But this was different from the polite appreciation Isabella had received. This was raw, emotional, transformative. People were crying, their faces reflecting the shock of having witnessed something truly extraordinary. Professor Zimmerman stood with tears streaming down his face. Dr. Brahms, known for her stern composure, dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. Even some of Isabella's supporters found themselves clapping, caught up in the undeniable power of what they'd just experienced. But it was Isabella's face that told the real story. The confident smirk had vanished, replaced by something Maya had never expected to see there: uncertainty. For the first time in her privileged life, Isabella von Habsburg had encountered something her money and breeding couldn't buy: authentic artistic truth. The applause continued for what felt like hours, and when it finally died down, Dr. Brahms stepped forward. Her voice, usually crisp with authority, trembled slightly. "In 30 years of teaching," she said, "I have rarely witnessed such raw musical honesty. Miss Chen, your performance was..." She paused, searching for words. It was a reminder of why we dedicate our lives to music in the first place. The crowd murmured agreement, and Maya felt her knees go weak with relief and disbelief. She'd done it. Somehow, impossibly, she'd held her own against Vienna's golden princess. But Isabella wasn't finished. Her face had gone through a series of transformations: shock, anger, and finally, something that looked almost like respect. Isabella began, then stopped. The words seemed to stick in her throat like thorns. The hall held its breath, waiting for the acknowledgement that the challenge had demanded. "I was wrong," Isabella said finally, her voice barely above a whisper, but carrying clearly in the acoustic perfection of the hall. "You do belong here. Your music. It has something mine lacks, something I'm not sure I can learn." The admission hung in the air like a benediction. Maya felt tears she'd been holding back finally spill over, not from triumph, but from the unexpected grace of her opponent's honesty. Dr. Brahms stepped forward, her stern features softened by something approaching wonder. "Miss Chen, in light of this extraordinary demonstration, I'm prepared to offer you immediate admission to our academy with a full scholarship. Tuition, room and board, instrument allowance, everything." The words hit Maya like a physical force. A full scholarship. $200,000 worth of musical education, handed to her because she dared to let her truth sing through a $50 violin. But before she could respond, Isabella did something that shocked everyone present. She approached Maya, her Stradivarius still in hand, and extended it toward her. "Play it," Isabella said quietly. "Just once. I want to hear what you can do with a real instrument." Maya's hands trembled as she accepted the violin. The moment her fingers touched the strings, she gasped. The Stradivarius responded to her touch like a living thing, its voice pure and golden and infinitely expressive. When she drew the bow across the strings in a simple scale, the sound that emerged was so beautiful that several people in the audience actually gasped. "Keep it," Isabella said, her voice thick with emotion. "It's been in my family for generations, but it wants to sing your songs, not mine." "I can't," Maya whispered, trying to hand it back. "It's priceless." "So is what you just gave us," Isabella replied. "Music isn't about the instrument, you taught me that, but a true artist deserves a true instrument." Professor Zimmerman stepped forward, his eyes bright with unshed tears. "Miss Chen, I've spent my career searching for students who could remind me why I fell in love with music in the first place. You've done that today." 6 months later, the Vienna International Music Academy's spring concert featured an unprecedented collaboration. On the stage where Mozart himself had once performed, two young women stood side by side, Maya Chen and Isabella von Habsburg, their violins singing in perfect harmony. Maya had grown into her new world without losing her essence. Her technique had been refined under the Academy's master teachers, but her music still carried the soul of Chicago's Chinatown, the strength of her immigrant family, the defiance of someone who'd refused to accept limitations. Isabella, meanwhile, had undergone her own transformation. Working with Maya had taught her that technical perfection without emotional truth was just elaborate noise. Her playing had gained a warmth and humanity that her privileged upbringing had never provided. Their duet, a piece Maya had composed herself, weaving together Bach's mathematical precision with the improvisational spirit of street music, brought the audience to their feet. In the front row, Maya's mother, Lynn, sat in a dress she'd bought with her first paycheck from her new job as the Academy's cultural liaison, tears of pride streaming down her face. Beside her, Kevin wore his first tuxedo, his eyes wide with wonder at seeing his sister command such a stage. The piece they played told a story of two worlds colliding, of prejudice overcome, of friendship forged in the crucible of competition. When the final notes faded, the standing ovation lasted for 7 full minutes. But the real transformation wasn't just in their music. Maya's success had opened doors for other students from non-traditional backgrounds. The Academy had established the Chen Fellowship, providing full scholarships for talented musicians from underserved communities. Isabella had become the program's most passionate advocate, using her family's connections to raise funds and awareness. As the concert ended and the audience filed out into the Vienna night, Maya and Isabella stood together on the empty stage, their violins cradled in their arms like sleeping children. "Do you ever regret it?" Maya asked. "Giving up your Stradivarius?" Isabella smiled, her fingers caressing her new violin, a beautiful modern instrument that sang with its own unique voice. "That old violin was my family's legacy," she said. "But you told me that the real legacy isn't the instrument. It's the music we create, the lives we touch, the barriers we break down." Maya nodded, understanding flowing between them like music itself. They'd started as enemies, divided by class and culture and centuries of tradition. But music had built a bridge between their worlds, proving that art could triumph over prejudice, that talent could overcome circumstance, that two hearts beating in harmony could change the world. The story of Maya Chen and Isabella von Habsburg became legend at the Vienna International Music Academy, a reminder that the most beautiful music often comes from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the greatest gift we can give is the courage to let someone else's light shine. What moved you most about Maya's journey? Was it her refusal to be intimidated, Isabella's unexpected transformation, or the power of music to bridge impossible divides? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing how these stories touch your hearts. To every dreamer listening from every corner of the world, remember Maya's lesson. Your background doesn't determine your destiny, your passion does. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more stories that prove the impossible is just another word for not yet achieved. Until our next musical journey together, keep playing your own song, no matter what instrument life has given you. The world is waiting to hear your unique voice.